The Stamp Act of 1765, short title, Duties in American Colonies Act 1765, by George III, c. 12, was an act of the Parliament of Great Britain which imposed a direct tax on the British colonies in America and required that many printed materials in the colonies be produced on stamped paper. Produced in London. Carrying an embossed revenue stamp. 1. 2. Printed materials included legal documents, magazines, playing cards, newspapers, and many other types of paper used throughout the colonies. And it had to be...
Let's see. And it had to be paid in British currency, not in colonial paper money. I wanted to share this because I'm learning that the colonies, instead of having issued notes that were backed by the crown, they were supporting themselves by issuing notes that were supported by their own state or colony, right? Meaning you live in Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee prints money that's good for Memphis, Tennessee, backed by the goods that it's produced in Memphis, Tennessee. So there's no debt attached to it. There's no interest that can be added to it. You have the value of what you're trading. Let's see down here. This is a long title. You're gonna see what I'm getting to though. This is gonna get interesting in a moment.
An act for granting and applying certain stamp duties and other duties in the British colonies and plantations in America towards further defraying the expenses of defending, protecting, and securing the same, and for amending such parts of the several acts of Parliament relating to the trade and revenues of the said colonies and plantations, as direct the manner of determining and recovering the penalties and forfeitures therein mentioned.
Now, let's see here. And you know me, I'm all about if someone can claim a tax on you, you're not free. The moment no one can claim a tax on you.
The purpose of the tax was to pay for British military troops stationed in the American colonies after the French and Indian War, but the colonists had never feared a French invasion to begin with, and they contended that they had already paid their share of the war expenses, for they suggested that it was actually a matter of British patronage to surplus British officers and career soldiers who should be paid by London.
Don't we see that today? I mean, with the wars that have been going on with the United States, and what was it? Maybe I think it was 2012 that they or 2018, one of the two, they finally just paid off the Civil War. I mean, we got all these other wars. You have the Vietnam War, right? You have the Iraq wars. You have the war on drugs. I mean, you got tons of other wars that haven't been paid for, and someone's gonna have to pay for it. And that's what you get when you sit in that United States status, right?
The Stamp Act was very unpopular among colonists. A majority considered it a violation of their rights as Englishmen to be taxed without their consent that only the colonial legislatures could grant. Their slogan was "No taxation without representation." Colonial assemblies sent petitions and protests, and the Stamp Act Congress held in New York City was the first significant joint colonial response to any British measure when it petitioned Parliament and the King.
No, I mean, many of us have already shown us what we're about to see here, because through that whole Boston Tea Party thing, right, where they show the Indians, right, dumping the tea and everything else in the harbor, and they try to say, oh, they were blackface. These are people that dressed up as, painting themselves black, and did this so they get blamed on the Indians. Well, the Indians are red. Why are you painting yourself black? See what I'm saying? Hold on, I want to get down. I mean, this is all interesting. I just want to get down to this because I know you're probably like, come on, get to the point. Why are you dragging this out? The debate of tax, that's an interesting part. Let's see. Let's see. Yep, we need to get to Massachusetts, I think. Here it is. Now look at this. Look at this. They give the titles and they describe what this is down here. And we'll get. Just bear with me for a moment. Who's that? Also riding that in boots, in trousers, with that on his head. Hold on. And this has to do with the Stamp Act and taxation. Where have we seen that before too? The Dutch, right?
The Stamp Act Congress was held in New York in October 1765. 27 delegates from 9 colonies were the members of the Congress, and their responsibility was to draft a set of formal petitions stating why Parliament had no right to tax them. 87 among the delegates were many important men in the colonies. Historian John Miller observes, the composition of this Stamp Act Congress ought to have been convincing proof to the British government that resistance to parliamentary taxation was by no means confined to the riffraff of colonial seaports. 88.
And it's interesting because I've just been talking to Vincent about what's it called there, the port authorities, and what's the importance of them. What's the importance of the one in Kansas and the one in Philadelphia? So seaports, it's interesting. Anyways, let me pause this. And there he is, right? The Dutch doing their blackface. Hold on. Wearing the same feathered crown and hat and everything. Everything. Look at that. Dressed royally, just like that dude was back there. What I tell you, boots, trousers, all that stuff. Look at that. Now, if you're an African and you're some slave, why do you have a crown with those feathers on you? If you're an African and you're some barbarian, just like the Indians in Mexico, right? Where they show like the Mongoloid Indians, and then they show the Afro, the one with the curly-haired Afro with the dog, got them earrings like that look like, remind me of Jimmy Butler or Jordan. Look at that. Come on. I wonder if there's one where he's in the chariot. What is he riding in there? Oh, they got him in there's a picture right there. They had that dude in the chariot. This is a lady. Oh, man. Look at that poor child. Look at that father who's just happy as hell to terrorize his child.